Alrighty then. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Oh, and there's some couple of bits of news here. I guess I can tack that onto the end of this because I have a little bit of bad news. So let's start with the bad news first. Let me mark this. Yeah. So I don't know if you've heard. I recently saw a video from Wooly, shocker, I know, for the Risk of Rain 2 new DLC that dropped, the Seekers of the Storm update, which added the False God and the Seeker, which is a new playable character, and the Chef, who was a new playable character. Supposedly there's a secret character, but I mean, no one can really play enough to find them, so it doesn't matter. That released, like within this week, if I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was just a few days ago now. It released. It was the first. It was the first major update produced by the new owners of the Risk of Rain IP. Recently, it was. I don't know if I mentioned it on stream, but recently it was bought out by Gearbox Publishing, who is under 2K Gaming. And this was their first major thing done for Risk of Rain 2, since the mobile game that they announced has, to my knowledge, has since been canceled. So that mobile game has been canceled, which no one was really excited for that. That was going to be a flop to begin with. And now we have their first content update, Seekers of the Storm, which has, to give you an idea, has brought down the extremely, overwhelmingly positive received game, Risk of Rain 2, at, I think, about 93% rating, down to overwhelmingly negative, which I believe means it is below, I want to say below 20%. It is overwhelmingly negative on Steam now. I can even check the numbers right here. I can just go to Risk of Rain Return, Risk of Rain 2 store page. Yeah, let me check that here. Oh, it's only down to mixed so far. It was at a 94% rating and is now 46% down from that. And the actual DLC itself is, as you can imagine, mostly negative, 22%, on its way to being overwhelmingly negative. Which is disastrous, to say the least. Disastrous. To take the original game, and have its rating, that's impressively bad. And the reason for this, as they went over in their video, I'm sure you can find it yourself. I'm sure pretty much literally everyone in the Risk of Rain community is talking about it, including the old developers. The original developers are, quite disappointed in the status of the game. But again, they sold the IP. They are free to, just literally go make a new game. I'm sure they made plenty of money from that acquisition too as well. So I'm sure they have plenty of funds and resources and plenty of ability to just simply go and make a new franchise, a new Risk of Rain, quote unquote. Like Harvest Moon style, just make a new one. They don't own the genre, they just own the name and the characters, I guess, but the name. It would not be hard for them to make a new one, So they're free to go off and do that and whatever. And it's not like anyone's under a contractual obligation. Like all the 3D modelers, all of the Chris Christodoulou, etc. All those people, they're free to be hired by someone else whenever, so they could do that. That's not a big deal from their side of the perspective. It's a shame that this happened, but I absolutely would not fault them for their decision. It's like, all right, well, You know, like this publisher isn't super well known for being good, but you know, like we've already finished the game. How bad could they mess it up? Let's go and make something new. It was like, well, none of us thought they could mess it up this bad. And so they released the DLC, and it turns out bundled with the DLC, and not even bundled with it, but dropped at the same time as the DLC's release, was a patch to the default game that has, excuse me, it was a patch to the default game that has attempted to unify the code base with the console version of the game, which is an unfortunate reversal of how that transition should have gone, as the console, you know, like was basically a, you know, like a terrible experience. It was borderline unplayable, and now it is fully unplayable if you open Risk of Rain 2 on a console now. It straight up will not go to the main menu. You just simply cannot play the game. And if you do manage to go to the main menu and you dare plug in a second controller, it will wipe your save as long as it is over 40 hours. So if you have a save worth losing, it will wipe it. So that's not great. Back up your saves, everybody, just in case. Might as well. You can do it without, you know, like loading the game, so you better do it. I recently did it, you know, because I was messing around with stuff, so glad I did that. I don't have it on console. I have it on Steam, obviously, but still, the fact that that can happen, you should back it up anyway. It takes very little space compared to the actual size of the game, and it means you won't lose something that you really cherish and treasure, you know. So that's a problem. The game is riddled with bugs. Most of the bosses don't work. The AI doesn't work. The directors, which are things that determine whether or not you get elites, what enemies spawn and when and how much. You know, like all of the directors are broken. Most of the enemy AI is broken. The loot AI is broken. If you get an aspect, which now is at like 100 times drop rate, it can brick your save. So, or you know, just end your run entirely. And, you know, like there's a million things wrong with the game. Like the game is straight up in an unplayable state right now. Right, like it's downright unplayable. The frame rate's terrible. Monster spawning is linked to the frame rate now as well, so if you turn your frame rate to uncapped, you get just monsters constantly. If you turn it down low, you get almost none. Right, like there's a whole just slew of problems everywhere, right? And on top of all of that, the new content that was released in the DLC that was supposed to make any of this worth it, the survivors are middle of the road at best and horrendous at worst. The new enemies are basically unkillable and some of the most unbalanced broken messes possible. You know, shocker. And the same publishers that gave us the blind enemies. Gee, I can't imagine what went wrong with their design. Too much health, too much range, too much damage. Shocker. In this case, it's just straight up unkillable for a couple of things and will insta-kill you if you're not. It will just insta-kill you no matter what, really. It's like the same problem that they had with Mithrix when they first released it, but that was the original publishers. That was the original developers. The same problem that they had with Mithrix, like in beta, right? Where it's just like, alright, well, in order to fight him, it's better for you to just have no items and fight him with no items than it is for you to give him a bunch of items, right? Except it's that, but times a million, because it's not the final boss where you have a scrapper readily available. It's now an elite that spawns pretty much any time after level 2, and will just end your run instantly if you have a good build. And if you have a bad build, the other one will be unkillable. And even if you have a good build, it is basically unkillable. So, yeah, not great. So the enemies are trash. The game is now trash, and the survivors are trash. And now on top of that, the new items that they've added, most of which you could probably ascribe to AI generation, because several of them feel that way. At least that's what I've been told. But I've seen a lot of them, and they are like bare bones basic stuff. And a lot of them are like near death or on hit procs, which are terrible in general, just as a design. Risk of Rain is generally designed as a game where you are going to be punished for being hit. You're trying to not get hit pretty much ever, right? And you're trying to prevent getting hit with a bunch of shields, right? Like, there's some healing. You know, there's a lot of healing in the game, and it is by far the worst class of items in the game. So, man. So it's already not great to have items that are only useful when you're about to die. But on top of that, most of them are pretty worthless. Most of them have very low scaling. Most of them have very low base stats. And very, very rarely will you ever feel like they're doing anything of value. Not to mention there's a bunch of them that really just don't do anything. And a bunch of them show up way too often because, like now they're just in the loot pool, keeping you away from good items and good synergies. On top of that, since most of them are near-death items, they have no synergy with any other item, because you need to be nearly dead so they don't synergize with healing. You need to be nearly dead so they don't really synergize with movement speed, otherwise you're not getting hit. They don't really scale with damage, because otherwise you're already killing everything. They don't scale with anything. They don't synergize with anything. They're terrible. So, they've ruined the game, they've added nothing of value, and now, they've actually legitimately basically taken Risk of Rain 2 from us. It is now a game that is not even really worth playing. To the point where you're probably better off just, it's something popular that's been going around has literally just been a somewhat sketchy patcher that just, lets you download the previous versions of the game. And you can just download the one before the update. And you're just better off playing that, because there's no reason to play this one now. And now I am looking in my Steam library, and we have just gotten a progress report from the devs, Gearbox specifically. So I'm going to see what this entails, and I'm sure a lot of other YouTubers that are better than me will look into this. But it is basically a situation where they barely made a DLC at all. It didn't add anything to the game. It took away from a lot of the game, and it feels like it really wasn't made with the rest of the game in mind. It feels like they were trying to make a new game or just weren't trying to make anything at all. Which, again, a lot of people are theorizing, for benefit of the doubt, really, more than anything else. A lot of people are theorizing that it's possible that they were given just a hard, unfair deadline by 2K, perhaps. We don't know, and there's not much point in being optimistic about it anymore. There's no point in sugarcoating it anymore. There's no point in trying to fight for anybody here. It's just maybe 2K gave him a hard deadline, but the game is not done, and it's terrible. This is unplayable, and it's once again in shitification. Just another example of a game that got good, and then somebody who doesn't not know how to make games bought it and decided to make a bunch of changes. And that's where we are. So, Seekers of the Storm Dev Diary number 5, Post-Launch Progress Report. Hello everyone. Over the past few days, they've been reviewing feedback surrounding the launch of Risk of Rain 2, Seekers of the Storm. Thank you as always to the incredible community of players who have come out to support them and provide insights which are helping to resolve some unexpected issues with the deployment of the latest DLC. Unexpected issues, yeah, sure. They're working on a PC patch. First, they want to share their plan for how they're addressing these concerns. They've been able to reproduce many of the bugs we've brought to their attention. I bet, because it's impossible to go a run without seeing at least 10 game-breaking ones. And they're working as swiftly as possible to get fixes delivered to us. These will be shipped on PC first, with consoles to follow as quickly as they can. I don't know what the point of unifying the code base was if you are not going to patch them at the same time. That was the whole point. And not to mention it was pointless to begin with, since the console players can't even play the game. Why would you patch PC first? Console players are losing their saves and can't play the game. What? Whatever. While this patch won't solve every issue we're running into, they're prioritizing the community-reported issues as best they can. Please continue to submit bugs on the Discord. Trust me, more bugs have been submitted than anything we could do anymore. With video, if possible. I'm sure that will matter. It does help in a real situation. Reach out to their customer support team if they need help, I'm sure. Here's the initial list of bugs they are targeting for a PC patch. Keep an eye out for more info. Many elements of the game are affected by a bug that leads to their behaviors changing depending on a player's FPS. Yeah, a bug, sure. Those elements included physics, attack speed, and movement, as well as monster spawning. This issue is planned to be fixed with the upcoming patch. Final bosses are meant to be difficult, but Mithrix becoming invincible when stealing Warp Deco or Chronic Expansion was definitely not intentional. 2 new items. They plan to fix this issue. Great. They plan to fix item highlights failing in various shops and adaptive chests. With a planned change, you'll no longer be able to escape Shattered Abodes, at least in the ways they didn't intend in the next patch. They plan to restore the visual indicators of taking damage on HUDs. That was removed, by the way. It was nearly impossible to tell whether you were taking damage or not. You just had to be staring at your HUD, and beyond that, staring at the number on your HUD, because if you took an infusion, your health bar would turn red, but your damage taken bar would not flash any other color and would remain red. So your current health and your damage taken health, to show you how much damage you've just taken, looked exactly the same. So for several seconds, you would think that you hadn't taken damage until your health bar just started draining. And with no indicator, you might not even notice that your health bar was draining until you were already nearly dead or dead. So that wasn't great. They're patching an issue that allowed players to get stuck while smelling the flowers on Reformed Altar. They plan to fix an issue where long-standing Solitude would sometimes show pinged interruptables at 2 times cost. An issue with teleporters spawning inside geometry on Rally Point Delta. Not sure how you managed to break that. Acrid's utility skills, both Caustic Leap and Frenzied Leap, were not dealing damage properly. They plan to fix an issue with portal spawning inside geometry in Bulwark's Ambry. Again, not sure how you managed to break that. They plan to fix health bars being slow to update. Once again, problem. Fix low frame rate in Halcyonite's spawn animation. Fix an issue where Seeker's Sojourn would not work for non-host players. Extend pickup radius on Chef's Food. Visual issue with Halcyon's Beacon's texture upon activation on Gilded Coast. Realign Loader's Knuckle Boom VFX. Once again, not sure how you managed to break that. Fix an issue where Survivor VFX in the character select screen overlapped with the ready button. And there was an issue with pricing, where in a lot of places the game would just be listed as double for some reason. Or the DLC anyway. They worked with their partner Steam to adjust the pricing in select markets. The new pricing more closely matches prices from Survivor the Void. This change is already in effect. Those who have already purchased the content should request a refund through Steam and repurchase at the updated price once they see it has been adjusted. Which is a hell of a way to say, sorry, we charged you too much money. Let Steam fix it. God help you if they don't accept the report, I guess. So the patch, the DLC released on the 27th, which was Tuesday, about 4 days ago. And so now we have news that a patch is coming. It's not even done yet, when once again people's saves are being bricked. The patch isn't even done yet. Most, like usually you would try and have a day 1 patch of some kind. Even if it wasn't everything, you would try and fix something. But, I don't make games. What do I know? So that's, just not great. That's Risk of Rain is in a terrible situation, and there's really no other way to describe it. This is unacceptable. This is disgraceful. This is saddening. To have a game basically just destroyed overnight in any vanilla capacity. To the point where, quite frankly, mods are a better sequel than the actual DLC we got. You're honestly better either not updating or rolling back and just playing mods. Like, if you watch the video I talked about on Woolie, WOOLIE, they have a few lists of mods. It's not like linked anywhere, but if you listen to it, they have some mods that they mentioned that are like really good, and you could go play, and it basically feels like a new game, right? Like, And they talk about the like celestial tank, and they talk about like some kind of surge or something. Like there's plenty of good mods, and frankly, they're better than what we got here. Like, I mean, heck, some of them are almost better than Survivors of the Void. Like, Survivors of the Void gave us the blind enemies. I mean, the rest of the patch was great, but I will never forgive them for the blind enemies. Honestly, the vermin aren't very bad. The vermin, they do too much damage, but I mean, honestly, any melee character literally wins against them for free. So, even like the elites. So, I don't feel too bad about them. Maybe that's just because I play a couple of melees. But the blind pests are egregious. Those are not acceptable as an enemy. Those are terrible. They do way too much damage for way too much range, and they're nearly impossible to dodge. Like, that's every level of that is terrible. On a better note, we got the Terraria State of the Game. That's much better note to end the stream on. Back to school already. That may have set the record for the fastest feeling summer of all time. We hope everyone at least got a chance to grab some fun times with friends and family over the past few months, before we all plunge headlong into what fall has in store. On the Terraria front, they are full speed ahead in the second half of the year, with development of 1.4.5 going quite well. Yes. They are nearing the 50th beta of this dev cycle. Dear Lord. Imagine if they put that much effort into other games. Anyway, each month sees the addition of even more cool stuff. Yeah. They are particularly excited. Remember that this was supposed to just be a Dead Cell crossover? Dead Cells finished their half of the crossover like a year ago. Probably longer. They are particularly excited for what was added this month, though they are only going to spoil one of the more shocking tidbits for now. They know everyone wants that juicy release date still, but they are patiently working through the list of to-dos, and they do not want to cut any corners, so it will be a bit longer, they're afraid. Bit longer? I'm surprised it's not going to take like another few months. With that out of the way, take a look at the particularly intriguing state of the game. Terraria, Weathering the Storm. Alright, there is a video here. I do want to show you that. But I closed my browser. So I can't show you this. Because if I open it, it's going to lag like hell for a few minutes, and it might crash the stream. So I'm just gonna have to play it, and you're just gonna have to listen. That's all I've got for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say that's all I've got for you. Oh, it's only like 30 seconds. That's fine. Oh, that is beautiful. If I can describe the scene immaculately, without the horrible compression of YouTube on Steam, thank you. This is I can't see. Like I am on an HD monitor. I am on a UHD monitor. I cannot see a thing. So you're not missing anything, trust me. But it is a very pretty scene. Jesus. Okay, so that's what that is. It is a very pretty scene in the middle of the night with a rainstorm, with the Terrarian on top of a small wooden house with a merchant in it, decorated nicely, with some bunnies and goldfish walking around in the rain, in just like the normal purity spawn point. As then a flash of a couple of electrified wisps appear on one on a tree and one at the base of a tree on the ground, so it's not quite lightning rod rules, sparkling beautifully in the night against the black background, flashing with thunder. Bam! A beautiful set of spider-webbed arcing thunderbolts hit either side of the screen. Beautifully artistic, by the way. Striking those glowing wisp points that appeared earlier, lighting up the whole sky from a pitch black to a pure white. A beautiful electric blue glow, neon streaking across the sky to the ground and trees. This does set some small fires nearby to where it struck the tree. Where it struck the ground, nothing has happened. Immediately after, another spark shows up on the nearby grave marker. It is now hopping around. And now it's been struck. It has landed on a goldfish, and that goldfish has exploded from the lightning. While another wisp has appeared on a tree and has now been struck by a different bolt of lightning. Some fire spreads to the ground from both strikes this time. And that fire kills a bunny that happened to be underneath the tree at the time. So it is a fiery projectile. Another couple of wisps spawn at the top of two trees on either side of the screen. Right one strikes. Some fire rains down from the spot that was struck. Like a couple of fire particle projectiles fall down to the ground from there. Left one strikes, and the particles fall a little to the left, completely ignoring the wind. As far as I can tell, anyway. I can't really tell which way the wind is blowing. Actually, I think it is blowing to the left, so sure. Another wisp has spawned on the tree again. It struck again. Fire down. Another wisp on the right side this time. Another wisp on the left. Right side is struck. Fire. Left side is struck. Some fire. Very beautiful. Very atmospheric. Very dangerous. And I wonder if this might be a seed, because it felt like the lightning was being a little bit targeted towards all of the little, like bunnies and goldfish critters running around. So, little suspicious there. A little suspicious. That was about a 35-second clip that I kept pausing. Very pretty. Love it. And while Terraria has had various weather effects for quite some time, they have been mostly cosmetic. Outside of wind, which can impact movement and projectiles, which we saw with the fire, it seemed. Excuse me. And possibly the visibility limiting blizzard and sandstorms, which are actually like an event that gives you new enemies and loot. Weather has never really played a huge role in the Terraria adventure, and obviously blizzard and sandstorms are just rain, but for different biomes, the ice and desert biome respectively. Terraria 1.4.5 aims to change that up by not only adding some new natural and weather phenomenons, but making some weather elements more interactive by dying. Remember, if you feel your hair staying on end, it might be time to seek shelter indoors. How shocking. What other goodies have the team added this month? Be sure to check out the console mobile section for at least one more spoiler. But as always, some things will remain a secret. Until next time, folks. There's some other stuff here. T-Mod Loader's doing some stuff. Interesting. Okay, so there's a little spoiler here that shows somebody taking just a bird, a golden butterfly, and a bunny that they caught. That's just like the item, like not in a cage or a terrarium or anything. Just they were holding them, right, like as bait. Putting them down, and they seem to be unable to get too far away from the player. That's the best I could describe it as. Outside of that, there's no real way to know, because they don't move towards the player in any meaningful way. It seems like they're just kind of moving around randomly, but when they get too far away, they just stop moving entirely. And the line is, again, think outside the cage, free your captured critters from confinement while keeping them close by. Terraria 1.4.5 will allow players to place captured critters out in the open via leashing them to a specific location. I see. Oh, I did not see that when I first looked. We hope this will help make your favorite Terraria world feel more lively than ever. So when you put them down like this, it spawns like a little... Whoops. It spawns like a little... I guess I could call it a seating area for them. In the case of a bird, it spawns like a little bird bath slash perch. The butterfly gets like a little, I don't know how I would describe it, maybe like a sugar water dish. And the rabbit gets a little food bowl, as far as I can tell. It seems like it's a little food bowl. And the rabbit just kind of sits on that, whereas the butterfly and bird just kind of move around fairly randomly. And then the bunny moves away from it. So that's cool. It looks like you can kind of have a semi-pet. I like that. It's better than just having them in the terrarium cage, because that's like kind of just like a 4-frame animation. It's more than that, but it feels like a 4-frame animation. So that's really cool. I would love to actually do that and have that, but I would have to see whether or not monsters can kill them if you do that, because I bet they can. They're talking about the board game and some other stuff. And you can read the rest yourself. There's a lot of good stuff. Let's go, Jay-Z boy got a shout out. Let's go, Jay-Z boy got a shout out in the community news media spotlight. Let's go. They make the best Terraria animations. They're honestly really good. They're Stickman animations in the same vein as like Hyun's Dojo, which spawned after like the whole Stickman revolution that they had with they had like doors and they had like a bunch of fighting tournaments and stuff like that. And I would say the original, way back on Newgrounds, you know, like one of the earliest big Stickman things that I saw, and one of the biggest early ones in general, Mick Wizard, you know, like, which was just an awesome like Stickman magic sorcerer wizard, and just like destroying an entire army, including a tank, you know, like with just their magic powers. It was really cool. MIC Wizard. You can look it up, and it's still on Newgrounds. You can look it up on YouTube. You know, like again, you can look up Hyun's Dojo, HYUN''S space DOJO, Hyun's Dojo, and they have just a slew, a myriad of amazing Stickman animations made by dozens of extremely talented and popular Stickman animators. And Jay-Z Boy, again, in that same kind of vein, it made a series, an entire series, by the way, on Terraria about just like, you know, like their Stickman adventures. You know, like he had his own like little canon world with some friends of his that helped him out at the beginning, and you know, like they'd been on little Stickman adventures. There's a whole canon and backstory that they have running through the episodes and stuff. Backstory is not the proper word, but you know, like they, you know, like stuff that happens in previous ones affects later ones. You know how it is. They make absolutely amazing. Again, it's literally J, letter J, Z, letter Z, boy, BOY. You know, like on YouTube, on their social media handle right here is JZ Boy Official with a tree emoji. So we know what team they were on. Good choice. Good choice. Team Tree rather than Team Axe. Sanix. Anyway. So shout out there just because I love their animations and really love them. They haven't really had time, you know, like to do any more animations in a few years, but they still make some animations and they're very good. So that's fun. Apparently they're also going to be doing a parkour collab with Penguin Games. I don't know if that's Pedguin or someone else. Pedguin of the Yogscast. The little munchkin. So that's fun. A lot of interesting news. A lot of good stuff there. Much better note to end on than the catastrophe that was the Seekers of the Storm DLC for Risk of Rain 2. Very, very sad, very shame that all happened, but Yeah, I guess we'll move on. The modding community is strong, and it is holding this game on its shoulders now, and it's a shame because they also broke the mod tools with this new update. But again, just it's a rollback away from having back what we had before, as long as we can get a better rollback tool. Probably right now it's again it's a bit sketch. It's a bit rough, but it is legit and it is working. So if you're really dying for some Risk of Rain 2 and you've updated the game, you have that. It's open. It's available. And if not, you can always just wait. For me, I guess I will just wait for now because I can't even say neck deep. Like I am like 10 feet deep in Pal World right now, and I'm just loving it. I'm loving it. I finally managed to fix the extended gameplay mod. It was broken. Turns out it was broken because I was using more game and user op settings, and it turns out that has a setting for maximum player level. And I did not know that. Or I did know that, but I totally forgot because, I went from level 0 to level 55. It took a while. So I totally forgot that there was a setting for max level, and I forgot that later on I added the gameplay extended to level 99 mod, and I was wondering why it wasn't working. I thought it was just conflicting because it says that it conflicts with nearly every mod under the sun. So I thought it was just conflicting with something. Turns out, it wasn't. I installed a bunch of mods for nothing, again. Because I also had trouble with the game crashing every 30 seconds. Turns out that was caused by my hard drive being out of space. Which I am now having a problem with again. Because I've gone from 15 gigabytes of space to 2. But that's not true, because it's actually gone from 15 to 11. But when you're playing the game, it's my main hard drive, so it's using up a bunch of RAM. And, so I only have so much RAM, so much memory, rather. It's using up a bunch of memory. And currently it uses roughly 4 gigabytes normally. Every time you go in a dungeon, it eats up like another 5, right? So if I play the game and then I go in a dungeon, I'm losing like 7 gigabytes of memory, of which I only have 11. So, not great. Or it's like 3 and 5. So, I've only got like 2 to 3 gig left when I'm playing the game. So, I really gotta watch that. Otherwise, I'm gonna crash again. And funnily enough, it just gives access exception violation. Or exception access violation, and the code at the end doesn't seem to matter because it seems like it has 20 of them ready at all times. On the plus side, because I changed the user settings, it seems like it stopped crashing whenever I returned to title. Because for some reason, whenever I returned to title, it would just crash instead of saving like normal. I thought that was just a memory issue or something, but apparently not, because I've changed that setting now, and now that conflict is gone, now I can return to title just fine. So, yeah. It turns out I fixed all of my mod issues, except for the fact that now I have several mods that are uninstalled. Oh well. It's not like I honestly I can't even tell what they were doing at this point. One of them was like a HUD thing. It said that it was hiding the HUD, but I don't know which part of the HUD it was hiding, because I can still see all of it, and a bunch of it is still just invisible for most of the game. So whatever it was doing, I can't tell. Whatever. I also messed around with the optical settings, and now I'm actually able to get a steady 60 frames a second, as long as I'm not in my base, which has 30 pals at any given time. Whoops. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's very rare for me to be able to play a game at 60 frames a second. It's very rare. I don't get to play very many games at 60 frames a second. I installed some frame optimizer mods, and it's the first time they've ever really worked, besides Optifine on Minecraft, which I am now being informed is actually terrible for mod compatibility, and I shouldn't use it. Which is crazy to me. Because some of the more recent mods that I've seen use Optifine. So whatever the fuck do I know? I don't know. You know, like there's like some mods that they like you can add characters, and Optifine, the new Optifine lets you add like animations and stuff. So like you can have like a Freddy Fazbear mob, like an actual enemy that actually jump scares you or like does the dance, like the on stage dance, which is really neat. And apparently Optifine is not good for mods anymore, I think. That was just one source. It was just one random person yelling. So I mean, I can't be sure about that, but like it's a weird opinion to have if it's not true. But that hasn't stopped like the majority of people over the course of history. Just look at Mupp. He's been canceled like what 4 times this month. Just look at like the last couple of videos I've uploaded. Mupp strokes his what now? Yo? The argument of other things? The argument of, like, what else would the South do? What other options did they have? I don't know, paying their workers? Fuck me, I don't know. I'm not a CEO. We're messing with him. We're messing with him because he deserves it, so it's fine. Oh, and right, I just highlighted the Speedrunners episode where he made a racist joke and was proud of himself for it. Like, again, like I said, he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. We can tease him as much as we want. Just like he teases us as much as he wants. It all works out in the end. We have fun here. See? It all works out. As long as everybody hates each other, it works out. Just like capitalism. What the fuck? I don't know why I thought that would be funny. I just did. I was like, this will be funny. This will be a funny commentary about a subject I don't know anything about. Was it funny? Let me know in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next stream. Bye! What the fuck was that? Peace!